Have you ever been scrolling through your feed and gotten that weird feeling of déjà vu? Like you've seen this same video a dozen times just with different people? Or maybe you've noticed that everything feels less like a personal story and more like, well, like an ad? Let's get into it. Because what we call content on social media has gone through a massive transformation.
And that really brings us to the big question, right? Are these platforms still places where we go to share our stories, to connect, or has something else entirely taken over the driver's seat? That's exactly what we're going to unpack.
You know, if you think back to the early days, social media felt more like a digital scrapbook. People wrote long posts, they made personal vlogs. It was all about sharing chapters in a bigger, ongoing story. Fast forward to today, and it's a totally different world. It's all about short, punchy videos, trending audio clips, and isolated moments. The narrative has been kicked to the curb in favor of the format. All right, so let's break this down first. Let's look at how the very idea of content got chopped up, moving from a whole story to just a tiny bite-sized snippet.
And this is the absolute key takeaway. The story itself, the what, has become almost secondary. The real star of the show now is the format. You know, the 15-second reel, that viral TikTok sound, the perfectly arranged Instagram grid. The container has become way more important than what it actually holds.
So what's the engine behind all this? It's the incentive structure. These platforms are built on algorithms that are designed to reward speed and instant gratification. A video that can grab your attention in the first 2 seconds is just flat out more valuable to the algorithm than a thoughtful 5-minute story that takes time to build. So creators aren't just choosing these formats, they're being pushed hard in that direction.
And that leads us directly to the underlying force shaping this whole landscape, what academics call the logic of the platform. The key term to know here is platformization. It sounds a little complex, but the idea is simple. Platforms aren't just neutral stages where we all get to be creative. Nope, they're active architects, and they shape what we make, what we see, and even how we think, all through their design, their secret algorithms, and of course, how they let people make money.
So this is basically the script the algorithm hands to every creator. To win the game, you have to reverse engineer what it wants. And what does it want? Things like super high engagement in the first few seconds, keeping people watching for as long as possible, and of course, jumping on every trend. It creates this culture of mimicry, where being original can actually hurt you, and conforming to the trend is what gets rewarded.
And the result of all this is pretty clear. The platform stops being just a stage for you to perform on. It's now the scriptwriter telling you exactly what to say and how to say it if you want anyone to see it. When everyone is following the same script, that performance inevitably becomes something that can be packaged and sold. And this is our next big point, the slow transformation of content into a commercial product. And the scale here is just staggering. A recent study found that a whopping 85% of young people see brand-related content in their feeds on a regular basis. This isn't just something that happens once in a while. It's become the literal wallpaper of their digital world. So what actually makes this branded content work so well? Well, it's not the brand itself. It's all about the packaging. As you can see, the number one thing that drives engagement is just pure entertainment value, followed right behind by creative visuals and being relatable. The product is basically hidden inside the format that the algorithm already likes. And this is where influencers become the secret weapon. An incredible 70% of young users say they trust a brand more if an influencer they already follow is the one promoting it. That collaboration magically turns a boring marketing message into what feels like a genuine recommendation from a familiar face. So what's the bottom line? The role of the creator has been completely redefined. They've gone from being a storyteller or an artist to being, in many cases, a professional brand ambassador, where their personal expression is carefully managed to fit a marketing brief. So we've talked about the platforms and the creators, but what does all this mean for the main audience here? Let's take a look at the very real impact this environment has on young people. The effects are pretty widespread, and they fall into a few big buckets. Psychologically, research has linked it to things like higher anxiety and really unrealistic body image standards. Socially, it can mean less face-to-face interaction, and maybe most importantly for their future, it has an educational impact, contributing to shorter attention spans and making it much harder to do the kind of deep, focused thinking that real learning requires. Now, if we zoom out even further, some critics argue this isn't just about individual psychology. It might be pointing to something much bigger. The collapse of what they call mythic culture. Myths are those big, shared stories that bind us together and give us a sense of shared values. But platforms, they aren't built for grand sweeping myths. They're built for fleeting, disposable moments. All of this, the formats, the algorithms, the commercialization, it's pushing us into a brand new era. An era some are starting to call a post-content paradigm. So what does that mean? In this new world, the word content has been redefined. It's no longer really about communicating a meaningful idea. It's about producing an algorithmically optimized piece of media that's been perfectly engineered to trigger a loop of engagement, likes, shares, comments, all to feed the platform's machine.
To put it another way, it's time to update a classic idea from media theory. We used to say the medium is the message, but today it seems more accurate to say that the metric is the message. The value, the success, even the meaning of a post is now defined by its engagement data, not by what it's actually trying to say.
And that leaves us with one final, really important question to think about. In a world where algorithms decide what we see and success is measured in clicks and shares, what happens to meaning itself?